pure devotee, a person who wants to be a pure devotee, there's hardly any difference. Nothing can stop the flow of his devotion. There may be obstacles, there may be impediments. These are smashed away. Only danger is if one gives up the pure devotional mentality. If he starts to relate with other impetuses, fame, distinction, adoration, sense gratification, karma, gyan, empirical knowledge, speculative knowledge, fruitive activities, mystic powers. These are like weeds. Just as the seed of devotion is planted in the heart, as you're watering that devotional plant, at the same time, around it, other weeds can go up. Have you ever seen a rice paddy? You've seen. Surdas? You know that when you water the rice paddy and throw the fertilizer and the manure, that alongside grows shama grass. Did you know that? Shama grass and rice, they don't look at all different. Exactly looks the same to a novice. Exactly the same. Just see, when you plant one rice plant, from the root come out about 10 tillers, and it makes a big bunch. Similarly, the shama grass you plant, the one seed is there in the soil, from the root come out so many, and it becomes a bunch. When you transplant rice, you just put 2 plants in one place. After 15 days, there will be 25 plants there. This is Krishna's wonder. Otherwise, how, by one seed, how can you get so many seeds? Each one seed makes 10 plants, each plant makes 200 seeds. From one seed you get 2,000 seeds. So when we plant the rice, if we don't weed the rice plant, even you weed, you'll find that after 60 days, when finally the rice grains come out from the inside of the plant, the seeds come out, then you see that there, amidst the rice, there's this shama grass. And instead of rice coming out, comes out some grass seeds. And if you don't pull the grass seeds, then they flower first. And then they drop more seeds. And then your whole field eventually becomes filled with shama grass, and the rice gets smothered, and you get real bad crop. Or even the rice may die. The shama grass can take all of the nourishment. It's very powerful. So one has to be expert in distinguishing what is rice, what is paddy, and what is shama grass. What is the weed? And to pull out the weed. Even it looks similar. One has to be so expert. This is not rice. There's a few fine distinguishing marks. Shama grass has hairs on the bottom of the leaf, and rice doesn't like that. There's a few. You have to be very careful to see, oh, this rascal shama. Throw him out. Just like that, a devotee, he may be, you see, chanting and serving, but inside, along with his pure devotional plant, the bhakti lota, there can be growing so many weeds. Prajalpa, gossip, unnecessary criticism, laziness, whatever. So many little things can start coming up. Fame, distinction, adoration. And this may appear to be a same thing as devotional service. Because it may even give an impetus to serve. Just like there was one very nice singer singing in Kirtan, and all the devotees are appreciating. But Prabhupada could understand his mood and said, what is this rākṣasa singing? He's singing for himself, just to hear his own voice. Prabhupada could understand, of course we couldn't see so clearly. When he pointed it out, then we all said, yes, there's a rākṣasa. But Prabhupada was very expert. When one sings, one has to be careful as singing for Krishna, singing for the spiritual master. Even Salim may think, oh, I'm very good. That danger is there. So what can a devotee do? He just has to discipline his mind. When he sees his mind assuming different things, he has to cut it out. But no, simply singing for Srila Prabhupada, simply singing for my spiritual master, simply singing for the pleasure of Lord Sri Srinitaya Gaur. In so many ways that Maya will try to entice us. It describes that just like dacoits, armed robbers, sometimes Maya forces come in, we're sitting and we are discussing things non-related to our service, and like dacoits, Krishna agents, Maya's agents come and steal away the jewel of devotional service. A desire for sense gratification, just like a ferocious tiger comes and devours, it pulls out our heart of devotion. In this way, there are so many dangers in the jungle. So we have to be very careful. Once we get this precious jewel of devotional service, that no one usurps it, no one steals it, no one devours it, or that we don't allow the tree of devotional service to be smothered by the weeds. It's amazing. If one doesn't weed his rice crop, then he'll get not even 1/2, he'll get 10%. Even in material life, he'll only get 10% of his rice. The the weeds are able to grow much faster than the cultivated crop. But if one keeps his paddy field clean, then it grows, you see, very quickly. And one harvests the rice, then if you find that one didn't properly tend his rice crop, what happens, instead of getting rice, you get what is known as chitta. Do you know chitta? That is chaff. Rice seed that has no grain inside it. So then you can have a huge pile of rice husks, and inside there's nothing. Just a little fried grain that has no substance. So sometimes people mistake that, oh, this is rice, but it's actually only chaff, only empty hulls. So we have to know what is the actual rice, what is the real substance, and accept that. And we have to separate what is a useless chaff and throw it away. So this continual process of separation, of refining, becoming more and more grave and serious in our devotional service, this is essential. Because the more that we can be fixed up in pure devotional service, the more that nothing can impede our progress. And the impetus is how much we desire. If we desire that, yes, I want to obtain the ultimate truth, I want to obtain the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Sri Krishna, I want to actually be happy, I don't want to cheat myself, then we make quick progress. And if we're not true to ourselves, that what do I want, then we see we cheat. Who do we cheat? We ultimately cheat ourselves. In this way, there's so many cheaters ready to satisfy the will of the people who want to cheat themselves.